ideas are the ultimate natural resource and the way we ultimately save the world. Hey guys, Randy here, and is another of our little intimate conversation podcasts, just you and me hanging out, talking about the principles of prosperity. So this episode is kind of one of the big picture ones. I want to just get you thinking about this in a bigger way. The up at 35,000 feet view. Because if we look at the memes, the mind viruses going on in the world right now today, it's fascinating to me, the anti-billionaire memes that are going around. People with t-shirts and bumper stickers saying billionaires shouldn't exist. I have a couple of close friends who feel that way. And when I chat with them about it, I'm always like, well, I don't understand. So what's your stance on this? And they're like, it's immoral. Nobody should have that much money. Nobody needs that much money. I'm like, okay, does anybody need to have $900 million? No. Do they need to have $800 billion or, $1 million? No. 500 million, and I'm like, okay, so what level is now immoral and what level is the ceiling? And sometimes they have a number, sometimes then that kind of wakes them up to realize, well, no, this is kind of a weird position I have, because my next question to them is always, okay, so let's, whatever this number is, nobody should have more than $200 million, and nobody should have more than whatever the number is. Who decides that? I guess you decide that, because you're wearing that t-shirt that says, billionaires shouldn't exist. So the rest of the planet, we should just defer to you. And so if Elon Musk works on Tesla and SpaceX and Neuralink and his tunnel company, and he creates all of this value for the world, at some point when he reaches whatever that number is, we should just say, okay, that's it. You've reached the ceiling. No more money can come to you. You've got your maximum, and we're going to redistribute it. The communism/socialism model, which we've conclusively proven over and over around the world that it doesn't work. And then the bigger picture also that flies off of this is the, hey, we can't keep having babies and the world population is going to destroy the planet. And if you're old enough like me, you remember a book called The Population Bomb by, what was his name? Maybe Paul Ehrlich, I'm guessing. You can correct me in the comments if I've got it wrong. Or, cancel me on Twitter. But it was like, I forget the year, but like, okay, in 25 years, there would be 20 billion people on the planet and we will all go extinct. And of course it was sensationalism, and it didn't come true. And we have the world clock, and there's all these countdown clocks to the end of civilization, and when we're going to run out of water, and when we're going to run out of food. And these have historically all been wrong, because they don't account for progress, and progress comes from prosperity. And so I want to present the contrarian view for you to ponder in this scenario, which is this, if you follow my work for a long time, I believe prosperity is infinite. Any true form of prosperity is infinite. Love, hugs, money, empathy, even material possessions. There is no finite limit to them. Like you couldn't say there's a finite limit to hugs. The more hugs you give away, the more you receive back. The more love you circulate, the more love you get back. These are infinite, self-renewing resources, but sometimes we have to change the methodology, right? So if you believe my premise that all true forms of prosperity are infinite, then we would say this planet should never run out of food, never run out of water, never run out of fuel, never run out of shelter. But the definitions of those could change. And I would say it's because what we perceive as shortages are not due to something being finite, but two factors: economics and poverty consciousness. Like there's water shortages everywhere, no, not everywhere. There's water shortages in certain areas of the world. People don't have clean, potable drinking water, safe drinking water. Many rural areas in Mexico, Peru, places like that, Africa, they don't have healthy water to drink. But we have to say that's a function of economics and poverty consciousness. It's not because there's a shortage of water on planet Earth. Like 3/4 of the planet is comprised of water. So it's ridiculous to say there's a shortage of water. It's more accurate to say, okay, we haven't made it economically feasible to desalinate the water, all this water that's available, to people who need it for drinking purposes, right? But that's not a finite issue. Things change, right? So we could have said there was a shortage of, I forget the tubes they used to put in color televisions, and the minerals that were needed to make those, and that was going to be the end of color TV, because we were going to use up the minerals and then nobody would be able to make color TVs. But then people just realized, wow, there's other ways to make color TVs, right? There's, if we just talked about how we're going to provide enough horse food to feed all the horses it's going to take for 7 billion people to travel around the planet. And then we realized, well, no, they don't have to travel by horse. They might travel by bicycle. They might travel by bus. They might travel by car. They might travel by hovercraft, by airplane, by train. So we needed to look at defining this, how we view those things. So how do we save the world? I think we have to expand two things. One, we have to expand wealth. And two, we have to expand prosperity consciousness. And the other premise I would put out there that I would like you to really think about as your homework for this episode is that I think we have to come to an understanding that none of us can be truly prosperous until all of us are prosperous. And that's why I titled the episode, How Prosperity Saves the World. Because again, we could say, well, coal is finite. We're going to run out of coal. And if we burn coal, it's bad for the environment. Well, you can make those arguments, but you can't make the argument that energy is finite, because we say, oh, wow, there is amazing development in nuclear power now. The clean, safe nuclear power, these latest generation power plants, solar energy, wind energy, water energy, right? There's no shortage of sources of fuel and energy on the planet. There's just a shortage of ideas on how to harness those fuels, or ideas on how to make those methods of harvesting economically viable. And again, that always comes with progress, and prosperity fuels progress. Elon needed investors to start SpaceX and Tesla. Bezos needed investors to start Amazon. The great medical discoveries, the great scientific discoveries, the great cultural enhancement we provide to the world, the operas and the ballet houses and the playhouses, the playwrights and the sculptors and the painters, they need to be sustained by prosperity. There needs to be prosperous, wealthy people who support those endeavors, right? So we could say, wow, there's a finite amount of land that's suitable for farming on the planet. Okay, we can make that argument, but the method of farming, that's not finite, because there's aquaponics and aeroponics, and there's so, we have, as progress develops, we learn so many other ways, so many much more efficient ways that we can produce enough food for people around the world. So think about, I'll give you a couple of more case studies or examples to think about. Vitalik Buterin, co-founder of the Ethereum network, which is basically a generic, how would I describe it? A generic blockchain that anyone can build applications on. And he actually was coding this when he was like 19 years old. Now he's probably 28 or 29, and probably I think, the youngest crypto billionaire. And how did he do that? He did that with ideas. The idea to create this decentralized platform. And he's just one example. Think of the other pioneers and leaders in decentralized finance and blockchain. Think of Jack Dorsey, formerly of Twitter, now of Block, which used to be Square, and the Cash App. His work with Bitcoin, his work with the Lightning Network, allowing people to transmit money electronically, inexpensively around the world. These are examples of how prosperity is going to save the planet. We're not going to save the planet by saying, okay, everybody should forego electricity and cars and computers and technology, and if we all agree to go living back in thatched huts and rummaging for foraging for berries, we're going to save the planet. That isn't going to save the planet. That's actually the way to extinguish the planet. The way we're going to save the planet is with increased prosperity, increased wealth, increased prosperity consciousness. And we have to do a better job sharing these ideas and creating a prosperity consciousness around the world. So I hope you'll think about that. And then I promise we will do lots of future episodes where we're going to dig deeper into this subject and get into some of the specific actionable things that we can be doing, all of us, to increase the wealth, to increase the prosperity consciousness, and truly all become prosperous because we're sharing and circulating prosperity around the world. So please go out, have an incredible day, and be amazing. Peace.